Well, welcome back, everybody. This time it's going to be me and Ciez. Ciez, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I like this whole multiple caster thing. I actually got to sit back, relax, and eat some lunch the past few days when it was like me and Ami, just going, and I have to scarf down something in like 3 minutes.
Looks like this time I'm going to get to try out my play-by-play skills instead of my analyst skills, so hopefully you'll be able to bring the knowledge and I can zoom in on hilarious decals and...
Alright, so Ami wants me to apologize to everybody for having my nameplate missing. This is kind of the first time we've done a rotating in and out of multiple casters and multiple scenes, and it gets pretty complicated, and we wanted to go ahead and get into the game pretty quickly since Game 2 is already underway. We're actually paused at 5 seconds. So Ami's just going to finish up the overlay and then we can get right into it. We don't want to miss potentially any amount of games in this series. If they're already ready for Game 3, like we know how quick DevM's USF games can be.
Hopefully that's not going to happen, though. We saw in Game 1, that was a 40-minute game, which is not a crazy long slugfest, but that's pretty long. So how do you envision the rest of this series playing out?
It'll really depend on if AIM can hold off DevM's USF aggression on this map, like Pop was almost able to do on Longriz. Although it's a lot harder to hold any specific chunk of this map than Longris is. So I think it could be a pretty quick game too, unless Aimstrong really surprises us.
Alright, well, without further ado, let's just jump into the game and let's get this started. You're paused at 5, right?
Yes, I'm paused at 5.
Me too, so we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, unpause. 6, 7, 8. So we've got DevM's US Forces versus Aimstrong's Oster in the north. Ciez, what do you think about this matchup on this map? What faction do you think has the advantage here, or do you think it's balanced?
I believe USF has a pretty considerable advantage on this map. The M20 is so speedy, and we've seen DevM, just make great use of that unit. You're really able to zoom around the map, pick up all the cutoffs, while kind of protecting your own flanks with it. And if USF can get entrenched in the middle of the map, it kind of forces us to go mortar, which isn't really a wonderful unit against USF overall because they're so mobile constantly. You never really have squads just sitting around waiting to get mortared.
So Aimstrong's down 1 game. DevM took Game 1 with 190-some VPs. What do you think Aimstrong needs to do here in Game 2 to hopefully not only win, but also win with over 200 victory points left and take back control of the series? What do you think? What kind of approach should he take?
I think the most important thing is going to be to get an MG in these middle houses somewhere, preferably the yellow one that I think Ami keeps calling the OCF headquarters. If you can get an MG in there to hold out mid, and then should let him spend some other of his units to hold off on his own side. I think it's going to be very important for him to just kind of weather the storm of the M20, maybe get out a Stugi, and then take it from there.
So, Relic has tweeted that the finals are happening right now. Thank you, Relic. Thank you for the shout out and the exposure. I think we've hit over 2,000 viewers for this tournament, which is probably a record as far as I'm aware for any kind of, especially a community-run event. So that is really awesome, and we're really glad that Relic is supporting us doing this.
Yeah, it's really great to see them. I feel like they've supported us as the community in this event more so than perhaps any other time in the past. Putting out a patch to help deal with some of the big bugs that were in the game, and really, it's cool to see them literally watching the game, knowing that they're paying attention and taking notes of what potentially they need to fix in the future, because tournaments are a great way for players to be motivated to figure out, what is the strongest strat and how can I use it to win this tournament and win me some money.
Looks like Aimstrong disagrees with your philosophy on MG usage. He hasn't put it in a building yet. He's moving it from point to point, forcing retreats. He's made DevM run away with his rear echelon troops. He's not getting in Ami's house, but he's instead setting up in green cover to fire upon Von Ivan's church right here. Grenadiers
I
are also
mean,
moving up into green cover positions. Riflemen are firing on these Grens unopposed on the right side from their position behind sandbags. They're going to have to reposition so that they have a line. More Riflemen trying to rotate up. So far, Aimstrong has taken losses only on his Pios, but Riflemen are getting cut down left and right.
yeah, Aimstrong, although he has not garrisoned a house with his MG yet, he's still using it very, very effectively to take control of the center of this map. And so now, DevM's going to have to push in through a green cover MG and two rifles that were, or two Grens, sorry, that are garrisoned. And that's going to be a very difficult feat for USF to do. He might even have to tech grenades faster.
Oh, no! Grenadiers lost the race going into that house and just dropped like flies. Aimstrong's infantry is flawless.
Yeah, DevM chose not to focus him down, and this is a really, like, backwards of what I thought would be happening. Aimstrong kind of bringing it to DevM on this map. Look at, the whole map is red. DevM has 1 point.
It goes to show how important building control is. Even though he didn't put his MG in buildings until now, his Grenadiers have always gotten to the buildings first, always been engaging up against Riflemen instead of down. If you check kills right now, it's 12-5 in Aimstrong's favor. He has map control. He's winning this game hard in 5 minutes as Oster versus DevM's US forces. That is really incredible.
Yeah, normally at this point in previous games, DevM has already had units parked on the opponent's cutoff, and his M20 has either been on the field or been in production. He doesn't even have his lieutenant out yet.
And he can't afford one. So what do you think about DevM's decision to go with a 4th squad of riflemen, since he's like a little bit behind on map control? Do you think that's going to help him bounce back?
I think he probably has to. He can't just sit there and float more and more and more manpower and, like, you know, hope that 3 riflemen can push Aimstrong out of mid. I mean, the other option might have been to tech really early grenades.
And he has done that historically. I'm actually surprised he hasn't tossed a grenade yet 5 minutes in. He just, Aimstrong just went tier 2 in the base, and DevM just queued up his lieutenant. We're going to do a quick time sync, give him at 5:25, 26. 27. I just saw a squad of riflemen get wiped by the Vet 1 MG right there on retreat in red cover, and these rear echelons might not get away either. Oh my goodness, I can't believe DevM is getting smashed this badly. I was hoping for another 40-minute game, but this might be over by the 10-minute mark. 5:45, 46, 47.
Those REs are barely made it home. You can't get much lower health than that. And DevM is managing to harass the left side to cut Aimstrong off from his fuel over there, but Aimstrong has barely bled any manpower at all, as you were saying earlier, Romeo. He's only lost 7 units, and he's killed 24. That's just an unbearable amount of manpower bleed for US to deal with, and the M20 is a very, very manpower-intensive unit. He can't even get it yet, even though he has the fuel and his lieutenant is here.
Especially when U.S. Forces is all about early aggression and having an early game lead. Although I know Relic has been trying to change it such that supposedly no faction should have too much of an advantage at any point in the game. Do you think that it really holds true? Or do you think U.S. Forces really does need to win within the first few minutes?
I think the philosophy of every faction having an equal chance at all stages in the game is a very noble thing to achieve. And I think they've made a lot of changes that are helping US late game, namely the rifleman vet changes, some bar changes, and tank changes. So I think it's a very good goal for them to accomplish. I'm personally not a fan of a style where, like, oh, I have to win within 20 minutes or my opponent just gets basically a free win because my faction sucks late game. Another squad of rifles probably going to go down on the
I don't think that's going to get
match.
away. That blocking with 2-2-2 just to make sure that they do not escape. Gun down in the trench right there. This game looks like it's over, honestly. He can't even afford an M20. And it's almost
the
8 minutes
beats
in.
the M20. Beats the M20 onto the field, which is pretty much unheard of. Race for the house. Oh, the MG lost the race for the house. So DevM might have a good chance here to take back some of mid. Aimstrong's MG is forced to retreat. He's got a lot of units in mid. Aimstrong has a lot of really low health stuff in here. He might actually lose a rifle.
Grenadier squad right there. Grens get wiped. Riflemen will get wiped in return, though, so it's a perfectly good trade. And there's no way that squad of riflemen is going to get away. Grenadiers secure the house in exchange. and 222 continues bleeding these riflemen. The squad of riflemen with veterancy can't get in range on the 222, so nothing is going to be able to do anything again. Oh, that rifle grenade! Devastating, and the scout car is on the hunt. Another squad might get wiped. I've lost count of the wipes this game. And it's only 8 minutes in.
This one goes down. Let me bring up the stats here. If this one goes down, that would be the 4th rifle lost if it dies. 4th full squad.
Devastating. That's one squad of riflemen wiped every 2 minutes.
I don't even know how many did DevM lose against Pop in the entire like 40-minute game. I think it was only what 2 or 3 in the whole game, right?
Something like that. But Aimstrong's scout car play in combination with his really good building management and MG42 positioning is shutting him down hard. I wonder if DevM is maybe getting a little bit fatigued. I wonder if maybe ever since the very first loss of his first squad a little early on, he's tilting a little bit. I don't know. He did really well in Game 1, but Aimstrong looks like he's going to take Game 2 against DevM's U.S. Forces of all things. It looks like Aimstrong is going to take Game 2 with a 500 VP victory.
Yeah, I can't really see a way for... I hope DevM like just realizes, hey, this game's probably lost. Maybe I need to just try and get some VPs, save my energy for the next game. Maybe I'm getting a little bit tired. You know, go for a walk, take a stretch break. This rifleman in mid just getting mowed down by P-Grens and that MG.
I think DevM just shift-clicked like 50 orders for his infantry squads, and he's just letting it happen, and now he's out there doing some jumping jacks and getting ready for... getting ready for Game 3. His rifleman just on autopilot.
That would be a funny thing to see.
What do you think DevM could do to get some victory points off Aimstrong before this game ends, just to try and help himself out later in the series? Like, do you think there's a commander he could pick that would help him? Maybe drop some paratroopers somewhere?
I don't know if he has the manpower for pairs. I mean, he certainly has them unlocked, but he's going to lose more squads under cheat on the right-hand side here. He's probably going to lose his lieutenant. There it goes.
I think that scout car has wiped 2 full squads, including a lieutenant squad, right? So that scout car has paid off big time.
Yeah, and the M20 is not even an option at this point because it's just going to lose to like that Vet 1 MG42 and this Vet 1 scout car. And I mean, Aimstrong is probably, what, 2 minutes off of a Panzer IV?
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
I would say like DevM could just try to get the M15 out and bleed 10 VPs and then call it quits just for some kind of VP attrition, but by the time his M15 gets here, there's going to be a P4 in his base.
So, when this game started, you said you thought U.S. Forces probably had the advantage here, and clearly that isn't the way it panned out. So, what do you think? Where do you think DevM went wrong here? Like, what happened?
I think one of the biggest problems was DevM went very, very aggressive for Aimstrong's cutoff, which is typical of DevM, and I think Aimstrong responded to it extremely well. He had his MG basically set up to go ahead and send one of those first rifle squads home, and from that point on, because of that forced retreat, DevM was trying to push into Aimstrong, and there's another RE squad probably going to get on the left here. DevM was forced to fight outnumbered.
Right. I think this game very much highlights how important it is that your MG42 fires just one good burst. Like, forcing one retreat, winning one engagement early in the game can set off a chain reaction of events that just makes a huge difference. Because when you're up against DevM, he's so aggressive. When he's that aggressive, it's so high risk, and when it works, it looks like he's completely destroying the person he's up against, when really the game could be on a razor's edge, and he's just kind of, it's hard to see that from our perspective, but that's really the way it is, and that's why it looks, in this case, like DevM is the one who's being destroyed because of how risky his plays are.
Yeah, I feel like he should have made more of a bid for the middle of the map. Maybe cap his side with his REs, get some rifles in mid, get his 2 VPs under control, and then push with his M20 to take the cutoff. And maybe just playing slightly more patient than he tends to do on maps like Longres, where, you know, the buildings aren't nearly as important on Longres as they are in the center of this map.
So, the next map, I believe, as Amy said a little bit a while ago, is going to be Samoski Winner for games 3 and 4, and since it's going to be 1-1 after this game, assuming nothing crazy happens, we're probably going to see a couple games on that map. How do you think these players are maybe going to modify their builds or strategies or anything on that map?
I think it could
What do you
pan
think?
out very similar to this. The buildings on Samo Winter are very important to control. Aimstrong showed, great finesse in controlling the buildings in the middle of this map. However, it's also a very, very wide map. So it's going to be hard for Auster. I assume Aimstrong's going to play Auster. I think we'll see Auster USF again. It'd be very hard for Aimstrong to push back into mid if DevM takes it. It's also going to be very difficult to defend, so much space with MG42s on that map. And MG42 is very vital to Auster's play against USF in the early game.
And, I really also think that Arnhem is much more cutoff oriented than Simoski is. Simoski has, every Kotu map has cutoffs, but Arnhem feels like the whole map is cut off sometimes, and Simoski can be a little bit more bottleneck oriented. So I think it'll be interesting to see how these players deal with that.
It's interesting. DevM's picked up a captain, so he just forgoes all tier 1 vehicle play, which he's generally uses so well, and that captain is just getting eaten alive already.
Well, as US forces, I think you have no choice but to go captain when you're behind.
Yeah, it's your only access to AT.
Even with the captain on the field, though, I don't think there's any realistic possibility of him recovering.
He's completely blood dry. Even though he just got the captain out, he hasn't even been able to afford an AT gun, and he has still a bunch of squads to reinforce. His MG and mid gets knocked down. I guess he could have saved fuel and called an M10 or something, right? M10 better than nothing, perhaps?
I don't know. I think it does not matter what he does, and he admits defeat. Game's over. 15-minute victory there for Aimstrong, not for DevM. 15-minute, but it was still over in 15 minutes, so pretty quick game 2, and then game 3 we're going to be on Simoski Winter. So, Ciez, what do you think? Did that game meet your expectations? What did you think was going to happen?
Turned out completely the opposite that I thought it was going to be.
My mind is blown. So that means that Aimstrong is now above DevM for VPs, gets a 500 VP victory to DevM's 192 in game 1. So DevM's going to have to work a little harder in the remainder of the series if he's going to have any sort of advantage in a theoretical ace game, which we might be making our way toward. And the third game is probably going to be starting very shortly, so short break and we'll get right back into it.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll be right back.